there's always a really good chat session after the presentation. As far as the upcoming schedule, we've got some excellent talks, Masonic Research Societies and the Philolades by Most Worshipful Brother Terry Tilton, Safe Lodge Meetings by Most Worshipful Brother Raymond Christensen, Common Sense Care for Masonic Collectibles by Worshipful Brother Jeremy Nenow, Interesting Math Problems by Worshipful Brother Brian Smith, Making Your Talks Matter, an exploration into interesting Zoom meetings by myself, Brad Phelps, and King Solomon's Temple in Fact and in Lore by Most Worshipful Brother Terry Tilton. And as an administrative note, if you would like to suggest a topic or you have something you'd like to present, please fill in the suggestion form at the URL in this slide. A reminder about the Show and Tell Challenge, which has actually been extended going through 2021. Ultimately, we're seeking lodge collaborations to describe one of three messages. You could actually do all three if you want. What is Freemasonry? What will your life and legacy say about Freemasonry? And how will you help others find their way to the rewards of the craft? Now, in the beginning, this was seen as a video challenge, things like you might see in our YouTube channel for the webinars, but it's been extended to include essays, poetry, or any other medium in which you feel your lodge could answer these questions. All participants will receive a certificate, and there will be a look at the best answers, and they will be in a run for a commemorative plaque. And with that, we will turn it over to the featured presentation. I welcome Most Worshipful Grand Master Ethan Seberg and Worshipful Brother Shannon Cracklow. And with that, I will stop sharing and we'll turn on recording.
Thank you for that fine introduction there, Worshipful Brother Brad. Brothers, I'm going to share a presentation that the Most Worshipful and I have put together, so give me a moment.
Okay, while you're loading, did somebody start the recording? It looks like we're already recording.
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
Okay, good deal.
Excellent. Well, good evening, brothers. My name is Shannon Cracklow, past master from Nelson Lodge number 135. I'm also your current chairman of the Grand Lodge Leadership Committee. Tonight, the Grand Master of Masons of Minnesota and myself will spend some time on the duties of the Worshipful Master. So brothers, Worshipful Brothers, Right Worshipful Brothers, and Most Worshipfuls, it is my honor and privilege to introduce our Grand Master of Masons in Minnesota, Most Worshipful Ethan A. Seberg.
Thank you, Worshipful Brother. I wanted to thank all of you for attending tonight. Include in those thanks all those brothers who have brought this Beehive series, this excellent Beehive series to a close now this evening. And of course, a special thanks to my dear friend Shannon, and that's one of the beauties of Masonry. I wouldn't have known him from Adam before this, and now I can call him a dear friend. So thank you very much, Shannon, for your help here too. And we'll turn it to you.
Thank you very much. Brothers, please draw your attention to the wheel located on the left. The outer ring will represent those virtues of our fraternity. The spoke is each officer of the lodge, and our lodge brother should ever be at the center. It is to show that as all these virtues are valuable for our lodge's harmony, each brother or each officer need only to practice a few of them. So we will attempt to explain how your duties as a master of the lodge should continue. The harmony, which is a sign of collaborative work. Most Worshipful.
On our next slide, I had the opportunity to request of another good friend, Worshipful Brother Don Nolly, some time ago, the use of his 3 R's: ritual, relevance, and relationship. And worship Brother Don, I know you're on the call tonight. I'm hoping that your permission extends to right now, or we're in big trouble. Because when Shannon and I talked about how best to describe the duties of the master of a lodge, a time when you are the man, what better way to try to describe those duties than using Don's 3 R's. So we're going to use these to set the tones, to set the tone of this presentation, and showed you how we can build on these 3 R's. And the first one is ritual. Worship Brother Shannon.
Thank you, most worshipful. The best plan that you can have is to talk about how a candidate, an individual interested in the fraternity, is going to become a member of your lodge. So make sure to have a plan. Talk with your officers early in your year. Be sure the elected and the appointed know if someone approaches that what to do, how to do it. Consider quality over quantity. If we take a look at the soul numbers, that's great, but will they be back? So sometimes the quality of the stone being picked from the quarry is more important. And also, mentoring and membership, these Grand Lodge committees have done some great jobs in the last few years. Incredible resources. Please reach out to them on the advancements of ritual and a potential candidate. Most worshipful.
The next item we wanted to talk about was promoting ritual in the lodge. You have, as you have heard before, heard this, as all Masons have done before you. This is what differentiates us from the animal lodges. It's what differentiates us from organizations all around the world. And in order for ritual to be done well, you have to set the example. You have to be the one who decides whether or not it will be delivered with excellence. And all, as a leader, all the members of your lodge are going to be turning to you to determine how they're going to act. And so practice is critical. You cannot deliver ritual and focus on this R without good practice. There is a network of brothers, both within your lodge and without. We'll talk about mentorship as we move along. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention custodians, the gold in our quarry. Turn to them as you're practicing this ritual. Worship Brother.
You know, most worshipful, that brings up a good point that I'll lay it up here is a lodge degree program. Having the ability to take a look at how ritual is promoted within your lodge. And that being said, have communications with your Leo. Make sure the degree educations are there for the candidates. Working with the senior warden. You know, there's a program that's out there from the mentorship program right now that literally has a 13-part assembly of what a mentor should be doing. So if you don't have something for your lodge that works currently, feel free to reach out and look into those resources. You know, work with your deacons and stewards. This should not be the secretary's responsibility of the check call as the degree is about to happen. There's many things that's needed, you know, putting together itineraries, putting together the individual components of the 3 degrees, the regalia that's needed. You know, if you're running an inventory program, these are going to make the degree day just shine even brighter. Work with that junior ward and those deacons and the stewards and really make it a lodge's ritual program. Courtesy work is something that can be done as well. Feel free to reach out and talk to your neighboring lodges and let them know that, hey, we've got a degree coming up. They may have a potential candidate. The opportunity to collaborate and share between our other lodges is one of the greatest things that we have as brothers. Most worshipful, I think we've covered the ritual. Let's move on to another term called relevance.
Relevance, and it helps to talk about this with Right Worship Brother Rolf in the square. We wanted to bring you, I think, the best measure I found so far, the Rolf Whitstrand full service gas station relevance check in your community. In short, it says, if you pull into a town and ask someone who should know where the Masonic Lodge is, and they have no idea, you failed. You have failed to attract members to your organization. You have failed to open the door and to bring Masonry out into action. Remember Rolf's righteous measure and use it. Use it well. Where's Brother Shannon?
So let's cover a term called ancient landmarks of your lodge. You know, brothers, there's been a lot of speculation around what this is, and through several communications and really taking a look at the ancient landmarks, we know from the real estate component, what a landmark is, but in masonry, that's those things that your lodge does consistently. The brothers are excited about, whether it's ritual, whether it's flipping pancakes or, a steak dinner, any of those. I mean, if you're running a salsa competition in your town, don't cancel that because you know what? I don't like salsa, right?
So you've decided you wanted to get out the door. You know that you've got Ralph's guide as a measure, but who do you find? And this is really the first opportunity we've got to tell you some specific hard instructions. Nonprofits in the community. There is not a single nonprofit in your town that doesn't need your help right now. You don't have to wonder if they need you. You don't have to worry about whether or not they need you. And if you want to find relevance in a community and do that quickly, find a nonprofit that fits your lodge and become an enthusiastic supporter. And all those lodges that do that are so very glad they did. Where's Brother Shannon?
Brothers, let's also cover under relevance that component of charity. We've got a couple of things that's lit up here, and one is the public display of charity as well as the Minnesota Masonic Charities. That public display is for you as the master to sit down with your chaplain and say, if a brother falls ill, if a family within the lodge needs support, how are we going to do that? When there's things seen in the community that you're stepping forward and, hey, what's all these gentlemen showing up at so-and-so's house? The neighbors talk a lot about that. Consider having an almoners or some type of a steward's fund as well. Many times you can support a brother through that charity. But I want to reference a little bit more to that Minnesota Masonic Charities organization. And brothers, that's a great resource that we have, but that's not a free bank. There is a very specific responsibility within that application. Please review the application and be sure your lodge is performing those things and reward those members in the community with the opportunity to match if said so. Very, very often we find that it's those events that we're doing that is the opportunity, whether it's a salsa feed or a food drive, that you can really bring the positive name of Freemasonry to your community. Most worshipful, let's move on to our relationship.
So you're planning your year as worshipful master. You focused on ritual, you focused on relationship, on relevance, and now you're moving to relationship. And as Shannon and I were talking about this, I wanted to bring to you one of the first and most self-serving things you can possibly do is to have a robust widows program. It's not only to support the widows that are there and build a culture that supports those women who are so critically important to your lodge. The self-serving nature of it is chances are that you will have a widow too, and she will need people like the brothers who come after you. Create a program as a master, make it a good one, and know that you'll be supporting someone who is incredibly near and dear to you in the doing. Where's Brother Shannon?
Definitely second that, most worshipful. So how are you engaging your brothers? Well, 3 keys can be fellowship, education, and your meetings. Fellowship should be that component that's not only around the lodge, whether it's a dinner, at lodge, or in today's standards, getting together somewhere at before lodge, greetings or outer lodge after, but also including the families. Be sure to have some events that aren't necessarily tailored around the lodge structure itself, that you're out with your brothers and their families and really driving more of that harmony. The education component, I can't express enough that to have a good Leo program where you're bringing valuable Masonic content to your brothers. One of the things that we learned about in the recent survey that was done is that I would say I'm going to go out on a limb here, 70% of the brothers said it was education is what they were looking for when they were coming to lodge. Make sure your meetings start on time and that the content is what's needed. If these things can be handled in an officer's meeting, make sure that that's done. The other thing I'm going to reference is a trestle board. So having clear communication, the ability for you to plan is what a Mason should do. A trestle board can do that. We're going to cover a little bit more on that in a bit. Most worshipful.
We wanted to bring under relationship two things that I was told as I've come through this fraternity. One, we have failed as Masons if there's ever an unknown. And we have failed as Masons if a brother goes home from a meeting and no one talked to him. And sadly, those things happen. It should be the culture of your lodge to make certain that no brother ever finds himself in that position. So, and it's your role as master to make sure that you build that culture. So do it. Where's Brother Shannon?
That's a great segue into whisper counsel and quietly. You know, brothers, empathy is a huge thing. And if we're going to reprimand someone, it's probably not going to end well. But if we think about how we would like to receive that information, that's the approach we should have. Be coming at your brother as a coach to help him, not to correct him. Trust. You know, we are brothers, and it's a huge component that when we violate that or we start going around and doing things against our brothers or talking about them this way or that way, and usually, you know, it's that high school component, we'll just say, we'll leave it there, right? That also isn't going to be good counsel or help in your lodge. And I will express one thing that I have learned over the years, and it's been told to me by a most worshipful that and I should reference that, it came from a most worshipful via our district rep. Sometimes whispering good counsel needs to be done with a baseball bat. And most worshipful Grandmaster Ethan, that is only metaphorically speaking.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Most worshipful, we have a 15 ancient charges. Brothers, this is what happens when you stand west of the altar. We've abbreviated this, and the leadership committee have done a great job of putting together a bookmark that can help you reference these as you go through your year. But we took the time to highlight some components, and I think you wanted to express some things about this most worshipful.
I really did. Thank you. Do not let your installation be the first time you read these. For emphasis sake, do not let your installation be the first time you read these. We highlighted in obeying the moral law, to act honorably among all men as the master of the lodge. Be faithful to your lodge. Make it be your default. Obviously, attend the communications. Guard the West Gate. Honor the original plan of Masonry. And spread knowledge of the mystic art. Those are your responsibilities as the master of the lodge. And the fun thing about that is if you do that, you make Masons. And in making Masons who do these things, we can go out and change the world. Worship Brother Shannon.
Leading by example, what a brilliant idea, most worshipful. You know, I'll only emphasize that, you know, sometimes you have to go out and do what you don't necessarily have your heart into because you are that ambassador of the lodge. Brothers, you're a servant for 1 year. You'll be moving on to a new role. So please promote your lodge. So we referenced a little bit ago that Master's Trestle Board. You know, we learned a couple of weeks ago as the junior warden that you have some responsibilities around codes and laws and you know, overseeing the brothers. As the senior warden, to be an assistant of the master and to prepare to cover in his absence, as well as to prepare for your year. It's your year. What's your trestle board look like? We'll begin with some communication do's and don'ts. You know, I highly encourage you to use the calendar. If you did your job as the senior warden, you looked over that master's and warden's book, you know the importance of that calendar. That calendar should be able to be viewed and out to brothers, whether it's in a paper form, electronic form. We need to remember that we're communicating to brothers that are young and old with many ways of receiving that information. So have that plan and remember it's your best intentions that should matter the most. Most worshipful, I think there's another good item for a trestle board.
Shannon, I asked for an opportunity to talk about this because it is still a mystery to me that there is sometimes pushback about that lodge recognition program. And so what I wanted to highlight was a very Masonic subject, that we are here to make good men better, not better than one another, but better than ourselves. And that's exactly what the lodge recognition program was created to do. A number of brothers went around the state from Koochaching down to Money Creek, and they brought back a list of the things that those successful lodges had in common, and they put them on a piece of paper. And they didn't tell you how to do it. They just told you what successful lodges look like. Use that recipe. use it frequently, and you can find success as master in your lodge too. Where's Brother Shannon?
So officers meetings, and who should attend them? You should really consider that from wherever that line starts in your lodge, they're invited to that officers meeting. The better part to that is your leadership really starts to take off when they're given a voice inside as an officer. You get the opportunity to develop a trestle board, create committees, assign responsibilities, and in doing so, what you should be doing is checking back, seeing how they're doing, how is that deadline, and encouraging them, not taking over and doing for them. Have trust in your brothers.
We wanted to talk to you about stated communications and repeat one word 3 times. Agenda, agenda, agenda. For the sake of DRs everywhere, I stand in for those men to tell you agenda, agenda, agenda. There is an example for you in the manual. Use it. There's nothing worse than going to a meeting where there isn't one. And be respectful of your brothers and be compliant with Minnesota Masonic agendas. So where's Brother Shannon?
Know the engagements around special dispensation. There's going to be things that arise in your year that even though you planned and prepared for, they're going to show up. You may need to reach out to the Grand Lodge Secretary as well as the Grand Master and get that approval well in advance. So I would encourage you to get together with your district rep. If you don't know how to apply for special dispensation, be sure to review that. So before you know it, you are a junior past master. Those ancient landmarks, those activities that your lodge does regularly. You know, in my journey to the east, I came across the training segment for the master's roles. And it talked about in there where what you do and the decisions you make really doesn't show up in your lodge until 3 or 5 years later. So knowing that, oh, I'm going to do this because it's what I want, really doesn't impact the lodge truly until it's maybe too late. So if you come in thinking I'm going to be the guy that's going to disrupt the ancient landmarks, it might not be a good idea, brothers.
We want to bring attention to ritual. You are in a unique position as past master of your lodge to identify gaps. Something as simple as, do we have a chaplain for the meeting? And whisper that good counsel into the master's ear. Be active and engage and stay active and engaged. You don't get to take that next year off. Where's Brother Shannon?
That's right. So you should really take on a support role. And that support role as a junior past master in the lodge can come as sitting with the master. You know, if there's opportunities up there in the east, sit with him and help him get through some of those early stages as those nerves kind of wear down and he becomes more familiar with his activities. You know, there's, I mentioned it earlier that it was told to me as I moved into this position, one of the key things is remember it's a brother, but he's coming to you with the best intentions in mind. And sometimes we need to remind them of our tenets. So you've sat in the East, you've had the opportunity to rule and govern. It's the opportunity now should be to pay it forward and support your brothers. I'm going to love this one. What do you think, Ethan?
One of the big challenges in doing what Shannon just described is that you can talk about your year. And if you want to drive a wedge between the master of the lodge and you, talk about how things were done during your year. Shannon and I have talked about something that was told to me some long time ago, that past master is not a title, it's a job description. You are as responsible for Don Nolly's 3 R's as a past master of a lodge as you were when you were the master. Support that master. And remember, again, it's a job description. Where's Brother Shannon?
So most worshipful, it's been said as the sun rules the day and the moon governs the night, so ought the worshipful master to endeavor to rule and govern his lodge with equal regularity. That may say a lot about this beehive wheel. Thoughts?
Well, one of the things that what I wanted to communicate, those of you who have gone through this series have seen from the senior deacon having a couple of sections on the wheel, the secretary, the stewards. One of the great challenges of being the master of the lodge is you get them all. Every one of those is your responsibility to make sure happens. But one of the great delights of Freemasonry and the model that we've been handed down is the great blessing that every one of those is your responsibility. And you have a sacred trust to make sure that those are acted upon in your lodge. And do that well. Where's Brother Shannon?
So, most worshipful Grand Master, we've come to the point for us to cover some things upon the square. So in closing, brothers.
We want to talk about three things that came up in our conversations: service, empathy, and patience. When you're there, be the example. We started by talking about how you needed to be the example in your lodge. We, in the middle, talked about how you needed to act as an example. And we wanted to say here, act with service, act with empathy, and be patient. And you'll be a success as a master of your lodge.
Good mentor. You know, I couldn't recommend this much. You know, most worshipful Ethan is going to be comfortably spending about 4 to 6 weeks, but right after that, he's going to be open, and he would be a great mentor for you if you wanted to know how to manage your lodge. So reach out to an experienced past master and say, hey, could I put you on speed dial so when some things come up, I can maybe step away from emotions and act accordingly. Most worshipful, I also am going to just quickly touch on this lodge recognition program one more time, and that's the development. You know, as the master of the lodge, bring this into your officers' meetings, break this thing down and take a look at it, because you know what, it is a competition. It's a competition with how your lodge did from year to year to year. So it can really produce some good goal trending, or new opportunities that you may not have been aware of. And lastly, most worshipful.
One of the things that we wanted to close with is so much of the Beehive has intentionally been at a very high level. We try to stay obviously less than a half an hour in these presentations. Freemasonry is unique, and you need to find that uniqueness in study. The code, the manuals, the practice, the way we do things as Masons makes this fraternity the wonderful thing that it is. You have a responsibility to make sure that you don't forget those landmarks. And to Shannon's righteous point, seek a mentor if you need that assistance. Never forget the landmarks of Freemasonry. Where's Brother Shannon?
Most worshipful, it really has been an honor to, one, serve the Grand Lodge in the capacity as the chairman. I've learned so much. It's really been an incredible group of brothers that have been around me. We look forward to, you know, many more years and opportunities within the fraternity. Your leadership has just been outstanding in this time, and again, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Well, I want to return those thanks, and I want to say something to the Masons of Minnesota. As you see the world swirling around us in chaos, what a wonderful thing it is to be able to sit together in times like these and share this time together in the way that brothers are supposed to. So thanks to all of you. Thanks for your interest in the leadership in this craft. And thank you for your service to the Grand Lodge of Minnesota. We all appreciate it so very, very much. Thank you all.
I think we can go mute now, right, Ethan?
Probably should go mute, yeah.
I have a question about, you were talking about the landmarks and the ritual work and stuff. A lot of the small lodges are having difficult time getting enough people to show up to open a lodge. Mm-hmm. Is there a way to practice that ritual work through Zoom or anything like that?
Well, I can, where's Brother Shannon, if I can take this one. We are not at a point as a fraternity where we're going to be doing ritual work online. I can't say that by the time it's by the time it's my turn to go home to be with the Lord, that won't be happening. But that's not happening now. But I was going to ask the custodians in the room if you could plug your ears for just 1 second. I want to hold up to your point. Where's Brother Bill Callister, who is a dear friend and brought me a model early in my Masonic career. There were only 2 of us at a particular lodge meeting. And Bill was the kind of Grand Lodge leader that we could use 1,000 of. And we were going to go home because we couldn't open up. And he did something that really changed my view about what we could do as Masons. He said, we're not going anywhere. You're going to go over and sit in the East and be the master, and then you're going to be the senior warden, and then you two Hunyucks are going to run to the junior warden spot and the senior deacon spot, and I will stand and back your play because we're not going to let Freemasonry not happen. Now, the custodians will pull your fingers out of your ears there. Nothing that Bill did was inappropriate. Now, technically speaking, that lodge wasn't open, but you adapt and overcome. We can sit back and lament that there aren't enough people there, or whatever other problems there are, or we can pull a Bill Callister and we can adapt and overcome. The challenge for the Grand Lodge of Minnesota, and I want to be self-critical here, is allowing Masons the opportunity to do those things. And what a blessing it is to have the kind of DRs and ADs in place that would say things just like Bill did. And so remember Bill Callister in almost all things, and you'll be just fine. I wanted to take a quick opportunity too, because now I can see Don. Thank you, Donald, very much for allowing us to use your arts. Thank you very much for that.
Most worshipful, if I could, just one observation I would make at this point is, having seen countless masters come and go over the years, one of the valuable lessons I've learned is, especially for newer masters, one of the things we try to prepare them for is that you're going to get hit with a lot of things your year that you didn't see coming. And as Grand Master, you know that probably better than anybody, but you're going to be hit with, people are going to be whispering in your ear for this or that, or coming to you with this and that and stuff that you never anticipated, never saw coming. And you don't ever see as a warden, but when you're master, there's all this stuff coming at you. You need to be prepared. And that advice to get a mentor or get somebody you can go to for counsel is, I think, critical and so important. And there was a past master in my lodge, worshipful brother Larry Jensen, which I think a lot of you know, gave me the best advice I ever had before I became master of my lodge, was that you're going to get hit with lots of things. You're going to have to make a lot of decisions. But if you always focus on what's in the best interest of your lodge and what's in the best interest of Masonry, you'll be okay at the end of the day. And I think that was the best advice that I got. And I think that's something that we could all learn from. So.
Amen. Amen. It's hard not to think of examples, and you all have them, but I remember thinking there was a ballot issued. I'm not talking about elections, but as a master, someone called and said I wanted to talk about whether or not this ballot, this petition should be accepted. There's some really explicit language in the code about how to deal with those kinds of things. But if that's never happened to you, there you are. If you've missed that section in your study of the code, it's okay to say, hang on just a second. Let's talk about this and do a little research before we act. You won't look the fool. And this is coming from a fool. You won't look the fool if you say, hang on just a minute. Let's make sure we do this properly. It's called good leadership. Anybody want to sing happy 50th birthday to Sean Carrick? It was all over Facebook. He's right there. We could certainly do that too. Happy birthday, Sean.
Will you lead us, most worshipful? There's
a version of a Red Wing version that sounds like a funeral dirge, and we won't do that. At least not while the recording button is still going.
I think that's another point we maybe missed in our point that's just coming up, or our presentation, most worshipful. And that's, brothers, be sure to have fun. This is a rewarding time. It's an opportunity for you. I mean, it's, as a past master, to be able to see a brother up in the East and having an idea of the excitement that's coming for him. Be sure to help him along with that too. I mean, you know what? Be sure to nudge him and make sure, yes, this is the master over here, right there. He's right down there. There he is. Yep. Recognize him.
We should hold up to, speaking of Sean, his comment about as someone who appoints officers, you've become their Masonic father. Act like it. Act like a father to those people who are going through behind you. It's your responsibility too to make sure that those years are successful. So good point, Sean. Excellent point.
I have a question.
Please.
How do you incorporate older members who haven't been part of the lodge for a while, but are now maybe coming back, or new members that are joining without overwhelming them?
Without overwhelming them. Well, this is the wrong time to say, and I say this as a member of both Osmond and Zura, don't have petitions on the first night to appendant bodies. That might be a good start. But I really think, and Shannon, I'll look to you for some advice here too. The biggest success I think I've certainly found is that never let anybody sit alone. We had a terrible experience in my lodge, a brother who hadn't come for some time, and we failed in that regard. And he had forgotten the past and was as embarrassed as I've ever seen a man, and left, and we never saw him again. And I use that as a cautionary tale, and it's self-indicting to make sure that doesn't happen. Make sure those guys, it should not be an uncomfortable, we have a lot of uncomfortable things you need to remember, especially if you haven't been doing them with some frequency. Don't let it happen. It's an active rather than a passive suggestion. Be as engaged as you can, and never let anybody sit alone.
You know,
Shannon?
it's Fred, brother Fred, I'll express on that to the point of most worshipful is that take the brothers side by side and just have a one-on-one conversation. It doesn't need to be threatening. It just can be, you know, engaging direct with him, see what it is that he needs. And then the other point that I would like to reference, and I've not seen this, but I heard there exists I believe it's called a Dusty Compass Lodge.
Yep.
Reach out to a custodian, your DR, and, you know, have some fun. I've heard that's actually a pretty entertaining time, and it can really get the brothers to relax and open up and be really rewarding for everyone.
Coming back on that, it's not so much the fellowship within the lodge, it's everybody is burnt out, maybe doing, you know, offices 2 or 3 times. So you
Sure.
try and get the new person or the person that hasn't done it to fill a position within the lodge. And they say, ain't going to happen,
Yeah.
you know, and people want to do that. You believe that it's important to get people involved, but yet to try and understand the levels of involvement or the degree to which the people want to be involved.
Yeah, I would say, now I understand even more specifically what you're talking about, and I would still hold up, you know, developing a relationship, but you're right. Bringing a brother in as Tyler 1 year and senior warden the next is doing him no service, nor the lodge. So it can feel like it if you've had those same men serving for such a very long time. All I can do, and having gone through this myself, all I can do is talk about the excitement of the future, knowing that the day will come when this man can engage as a leader in the lodge. And in the meantime, you've gone now from 4 people that can engage in community and follow Don's lead about relevance, and now you've got 5. Go out the door, do something that isn't Masonic, and start to build. It's a huge undertaking, and I don't want to say for a minute there's a silver bullet here, but boy, yeah, don't get so excited about this new guy that you scare him off. You're absolutely right. It's a delicate balance. And how's that for a non-answer answer, Fred?
It's also another thing. It is a lifelong journey, right? This is something that is going to be part of their life, hopefully the rest of their life. So it's not a sprint. You have to, sometimes the younger guys, you need to slow them down a little bit. They don't need to do everything. I have to learn to take my own advice on that one too, because I managed to jump in the middle of everything when I started, and it would have been better to take my time and go into it more slowly than I did. Lesson learned, I guess.
Another thing I've learned in my small bore world is in Caliber is attending different lodges or bodies or concordant or appendant bodies. As you come back, it's so common. You want to have a good sound system or good speaker system, because there's nothing more annoying, or you feel bad as you'll get a younger or older brother will say, what did he say? Or what did he say? And they miss it because you missed the conversation. Or if somebody comes back from a surgery or something, or has been gone for a while because of some ailments or something, make sure that they're walking with a walker, a cane, or they need some, drive them to lodge or something. I mean, I'm guilty too. Sometimes you should be able to check on that brother and get him back if he notices he's been gone, or there's a reason there's usually a reason that a brother that attended doesn't attend. Whether it's good reasons or bad reasons, there's usually a reason. And a good member or a good brother should try to check into that, or the committee should try to check into that.
It's almost like you're trying to hammer home Don's relationship. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I had a question before we had any other. The worst brother, Jason Lang, what happened to the Imperial Cruiser? It looks.
I had to switch computers, so I'm not using the other computer, so I can't have my background. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
Trying to figure out how to do it before I turned the video on, and I couldn't find it. So I just.
All right. It's a bad sign if you can't find the thing on the computer. I'm telling you that right
Well,
now.
I had to use my tablet, which doesn't have the horsepower to do the background thing.
Okay. I feel a little better.
It's still parked in orbit. Don't worry. It hasn't gone anywhere.
It is the COVID era.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm glad you mentioned that, especially with so many jurisdictional leaders right on the call. Look to, if I can pitch, actually, the COVID committee is flinging wide the doors, so I prepare to be unimpressed. No offense to the committee members. At our February 8th meeting on that second Monday night, please do join us. Bring questions about how we've gotten to where we are, where we hope to go from here. And then also take the opportunity to sit in with Most Worship Brother Ray on Wednesday the 10th, who's going to talk about safe lodge meetings, especially in this environment. And I want to bring one thing from Ray to all of you, though I hope I'm not stealing his thunder. He asked me the question as I was lamenting all of these restrictions not too long ago. When was the last time you had a head cold? It is strange that when you don't spend time with people and you wear stuff wherever you go, I haven't used a lot of Kleenex. It's been kind of nice in that regard. That one single only regard, but that one regard. Any other questions? Shannon, anything pop up in the chats?
I would only express upon what I've seen, Right Worshipful Brother Keith had put out here is he has the link to the Dusty Square and Compass in the chat, brothers. I would encourage you to bring that to your officers meeting and put that together. That could be a really fun time as we can start to look to open up the lodge activities here.
Boy, I'm not going to be the first person in this office to say saved by the Grand Secretary. And what a wonderful thing it is when you talk about hard suggestions, hard and usable ones. We're going to come out of here with a lot of guys who don't remember things like passwords and signs. What a wonderful program to have in place when that day comes. And the physicians keep saying it's coming, so I'm going to believe them. But yeah, great idea to have that ready and waiting for the opportunity to get together and do that.
Most worshipful. I'd like to comment on one thing from what Brother Fred Benson was talking about bringing in those brothers that haven't been there for a while. I know that one of the lodges, Montgomery Lodge, tried to reach out to all the past masters and actually asked them to sit right next to a lot of the different positions in lodge and provide whispers of guidance and counsel to those different officers. The year that we tried that, we actually had 8 past masters that hadn't been to lodge in a couple of years come back. They provided the support to the lodge, and they actually found enjoyment because they felt that they were being used properly, and they felt as if they were being elevated for things that they've accomplished and held in high regards. That might be another idea that you can use for different lodges to get some of the past masters and those that are out there that they just want to be asked to help fulfill some need in the lodge, and they'll come out of the woodwork, but make sure it's an actual need, because otherwise the brothers will see through anything of just trying to get him to come back.
It's a good point and an excellent point. It's something we should do except in Red Wing. We don't want those guys back, Sean. We got enough friends. That's not true. We're still recording. Great. That's just great. That's great. Because none of that's true.
I take back what I said, Most Worshipful.
See, just like that. It just evaporates just like that.
Thank God for editing, Ethan.
Amen. Yeah. You don't know the half of it. Any
I have
other-
a I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If I could. So this is Dave O'Neill. I'm up in Forest Lake, new master in Minnesota this year. Done it before in Wisconsin. We've got a lot of decent momentum up in Forest Lake, and we've got new officers that have joined the line this year, and some of them are really energetic. We're One of the questions I have is so for a Leo, we've got a Leo that's got all kinds of ideas. I know we've got some ideas out there. Are there opportunities to get similar officers in a group like this together across the state? So in other words, like a Leo's forum or a junior masters forum, or is there something like that already going on?
Yeah, and I was going to say there's going to be like 25 people who are going to want to answer this question, but I'm going to take the privilege just because it's fun for me. Very nice to see you, worship brother, and excellent job. Bless you for moving from that junior warden spot to the master in that lodge. It's your service is appreciated. We really appreciate what you're doing up there. Yes is the answer to all those questions. The Grand Lodge Education Officer, Andy, would love to answer your question about the Leo organization in the state. Your Masters and Wardens organizations are there. Heavens, a cup of, when we get the chance to do this again, sitting down with other area lodges around you is one. But there are absolutely formalized Metro East, Metro West, Northeast is active. Southeast uses it, Masters and Wardens groups on kind of a district level. And believe me, everybody knows everybody in the Northwest and the Southwest. So they're as supportive as they can possibly be in an area the size of Texas. So yes, those organizations exist, and we're going to send your DR in your direction to make sure that he talks to you about those opportunities.
Yeah, I could easily talk to Mike. I just thought it'd be a good thing to kind of air as a
No,
point.
I'm glad you did. It's yeah, and if you don't see one, and this is a challenge really to DRs everywhere, if you don't see an organization or haven't felt it, push for one. It's incredibly helpful. That mutual support is just incredibly helpful. Absolutely.
And to the most worshipful point in the beginning of the presentation, he said, "You are the man." Sometimes that may mean, well, I'm going to chalk this up as when I'm junior past master, I'm going to reach out to the district rep. I'm going to reach out to membership, the mentorship, the leadership committee, and maybe look to put together some packages that you can bring to the lodge to help in that regard. If you have that time this year, wonderful, but don't disrupt your schedule for that, because that can sometimes be catastrophic down the road. You get caught up and you won't have the time to properly plan and prepare.
Yeah, great question, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations to your appointment too, there, worshipful brother.